Okay guys, welcome back to another OZ video. Apologies, I've got a bit of a cold right now, but yeah, so today the topic I want to talk about is being cautious of men in leadership roles. Now, if you look at the world right now, there are so many men taking position of powers. I say men in the loosest terms, as in men in open brackets, because first of all, going back to transvestigation, I mean, we know the classic ones like Donna Trump, Andrea Tate, and stuff like this, and all these famous people. But I've just noticed, I'm noticing it so much more now, and especially through a biblical mindset. There are so many men claiming to be men in positions of power who just pop up on the world stage, and we've all just got to be like, oh well, I guess this guy's in power or something now. It's like we all just have to accept these people, and it's very evident with the name world leaders and stuff like this, the names they give themselves. So I'm just very cautious right now of all these men who pop up in positions of power, especially looking in terms of the Antichrist. I mean, we don't know who the Antichrist is. Maybe we do. I don't know. But I'm skeptical is what I'm saying. Be skeptical of these men who pop up out of absolutely nowhere claiming to be a leader of something. Now, there's some possible candidates. I've heard people saying Elon Musk because he is very into transhumanism. And when quizzed about Christianity, it doesn't even seem like he can get the words properly out of his lips. He's also the only person in the world right now who has significant status who's trying to, put chips into people's minds and stuff, you know what I mean? You see it in cartoons when you're younger, or like, I don't know, The Simpsons or something, some sort of shadowy guy who wants to put microchips into everyone's brains and rule the world. And I'm sure there's a cartoon, a really old one, if someone can find it on YouTube, but they were like predicting, like, predictive programming, like where they show you something in a movie or a TV show and then it happens and you're like, huh, makes it more, I don't know, susceptible to the brain. But there was an episode of a kids show and there was like characters and they all were receiving this mark in their right hand and their forehead so they could buy stuff. And it turns out it was like a sinister plot by like the bad guys of the show. I don't know what it was. It was like around like the Ninja Turtles era, something in the 2000s, I don't know. Static Shock or something. Might have been a Netflix cartoon. Anyway, if anyone can find that, look that up. But you see it all the time put out there, this image of, you know what I mean, some guy, some shadowy guy who wants to put something in everyone's brain. Even like Plankton in the SpongeBob movie, like think back that. Like he's making everyone worship him. This idea's been put in our brains for so long. I'm just very skeptical of these men in positions of power. And being from the UK, I didn't really think anything of it, but now it's like with the Queen passing, we now have a king, in brackets, in power now. So there's a king of England now. I'm very skeptical. And then all this talk about him having cancer and all this stuff. And yeah, it sounds very sort of Book of Revelation. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Book of Revelation it does say that the Antichrist will like suffer some sort of grievous wound and then recover from it. I could be reading it wrong, but I feel like that's what it is. And when I'm seeing all these like world leaders and stuff like this, and they're all getting sick and injured somehow, you know what I mean? Who knows? Zelensky, people saying he's another candidate because he came out of absolutely nowhere. This guy, I remember back in like, must have been 2017, 18 or something. I was telling someone saying like, hey, have you heard about this fact or something, like, I don't know, Reddit or like Interesting Facts Daily. I was like, hey, have you heard about this guy? Like, the president of Ukraine is actually like an actor who played the president in a TV show. And they were all just like, oh yeah, very dismissive. Now this dude is like the most like celebrated war general of our time. It's just so bizarre to me. And his stature really did just come out of nowhere, and now every world leader is on his side. So there's him to look at as a candidate, you know what I mean? He could be the Antichrist, I don't know. We've got Donald Trump. I mean, I saw something today that is like Trump selling his own Bible now, or something like this. Like he's selling a Trump themed Bible. I don't know. But yeah, it could be Putin, could be any of these people we suspect, you know, you never know. You never know who it could be. And it might not even be a man as we think it, transvestigation. It could be someone in the image of presenting as a woman when in reality they're a dude. It could be literally anyone, but yeah. So I'm very cautious and skeptical of men in positions of power, and I will not voice any support of them until they can prove that they are not the Antichrist. It's interesting stuff, it really is. It's weird times we live in. I don't know, I've just been saying this to people I know, like I'm very cautious about these new people just popping up on the world stage that we're just supposed to accept. It's a quote here from James Franco. The number of women in power positions is a fraction of the number of men in such positions. So wise, truly one of the greatest thinkers of our time, James Franco. Much wisdom to be found in those words there. He's really speaking truth to power there. But yeah, back to my point, it's just these people in positions of power, because the Antichrist, who knows, it could be someone presenting as a woman. I just think, it doesn't say he's going to like enamor the world and everyone's going to be like charmed by him. Who knows? Man, it's difficult to think of, and he could be absolutely anywhere. And there's many, like, you can research it until the cows come home, who this Antichrist could be and what their mark is and the number of their names. Now, I know going back in time, there were a lot of talks about the Antichrist being, what was his name? The Nero of Rome. Now, like, and they added up the numbers of his name, and it added up to 666 and also 616, which isn't talked about nearly enough. The number of the beast being 616. Yeah, think about how many times you see that. But I think they added it up, and like the numbers in his name for the name of Nero added up to 666 and 616 with like some of the vowels messed up, but so people were saying like, oh, so he's been and gone, and he was forcing people to take coins with his face on it, the image. But yeah, it's interesting stuff. He could be around now. And the thing is with these people who they say, yeah, but they're not the Antichrist because they're dead and gone. Well, we didn't see them die, and there's been all sorts of, history resets, mud floods, all sorts of stuff like that, stuff that the club don't want us to know about, but I think people are wising up to it now. And all this stuff happening in Israel, I think people are realizing, how I feel now is just a mass awakening to, we don't live in a nihilistic society like you, listening viewer, you at home, and me have all grown up with this sort of look out for number one, there's no inherent value to life, we're born and we die. We're taught about space travel and science in primary school, you know what I mean? The heroes we looked up to in our time weren't men of old. We didn't look up to, like, I don't know, Alexander the Great or something, as someone else would, or some sort of strategic military leader or hero or something. No, we were raised on Doctor Who and Sporticus and like actors, I don't know, Tony Stark, Iron Man, you know what I mean? These are who this generation are raised growing up with, as these sort of scientific minds. But it's interesting to think, like, I think now, and you look at people in the eyes and they're seeing it, you know what I mean? If you look up those tweets of people when they're saying, like, during COVID, I remember there's people saying, like, can we not wake up in a book of Revelation, like one of the books of Revelation these days? Like, can I not, like, people are getting worried about it, they're nervous, you know what I mean? And you see it talking to people in their eyes, and I can feel it, it's palpable, it's in the air, that people are starting to wake up and realize that the world that we live in is much deeper and much more spiritual than we think, you know what I mean? And all these people who've been practicing and reciting things that are, counter to the Bible are starting to realize, you know what I mean? Like yoga teachers and all this stuff. People are starting to realize that there's something bigger than going on here. They're starting to realize that there's something bigger going on than just life and going to work and getting a job and drinking beer and having sex and eating food and wearing clothes and going to the shops. Now people are realizing that there's a greater spiritual significance for everything you do in life. There's no coincidences, and it's scary stuff. And we battle with powers and principalities, not against flesh and blood. So yeah, take care. of your salespeople out there. One more note I want to add, being from the UK. So everything in... Oh yeah, here's another one. Passports. So we all have to... If we want to travel, we have to take a passport. Who's the guy who doesn't? The head of the monarchy. And why is that? Oh, because they're issued in his name. Right. Something being issued in his name and he doesn't need to take it. Right. And then on all passports and driver's licenses, you have to have the cross of the Union Jack of the UK, which looks similar to the Hebrew words for 616, the HIC for the numerology of it. Hebrew people know what I'm talking about. And these are all issued in the name of the current monarch, the king. So if you've got a driver's license or a passport at home, you know, I don't know if this is the mark of the beast. I don't know. I'm praying for wisdom on these subjects. But look at your passport. Look at your driver's license at home. Just look at like the symbols and stuff like that are on there. You know what I mean? And all these strange crosses and pointed objects. And the front of UK passports look very, you know, Book of Revelation with the lion and a dragon and stuff like this. So yeah, be careful out there. You know, the mask is starting to slip on this world now. People are realizing it's deeper, and it's sad because I think people really want it not to be the case. You know what I mean? And they're trying to prolong the inevitable. But yeah, ultimately, we know who wins this. Christ is the right side to be on. Repent and believe in the gospel, everyone. Stay safe.